Africa, a continent of diverse cultures and immense potential, faces a stark reality: the widening gap between the rich and the poor. This gap, a complex issue with far-reaching consequences, threatens the continent's progress and stability. While some enjoy opulent lifestyles, many struggle to afford basic necessities. This divide is not merely about wealth, it is about access to opportunities, resources, and a chance for a better life. The consequences of this growing disparity are evident in the struggles of millions across the continent. Understanding the factors contributing to this divide is crucial for addressing this pressing issue. From economic instability to social inequalities, we must examine the root causes to pave the way for a more just and equitable Africa. Economic instability stands as a major contributor to the widening rich-poor gap in Africa. Uneven economic growth, where the benefits of progress are not shared equitably, exacerbates this divide. While some sectors flourish, others lag, leaving many behind. Corruption, a persistent challenge in many African nations, further fuels inequality. It diverts resources away from essential services like healthcare and education, disproportionately impacting the poor. Limited access to quality education and healthcare perpetuates the cycle of poverty. Without education and skills, individuals face limited opportunities for economic advancement. Similarly, inadequate healthcare access traps families in cycles of debt and despair. The COVID-19 pandemic, a global crisis, exposed and exacerbated existing inequalities in Africa. Lockdowns and economic slowdowns disproportionately impacted vulnerable populations reliant on daily wages and informal sectors. The pandemic highlighted the fragility of healthcare systems in many African countries, further disadvantaging the poor who lacked access to quality care. The pandemic's economic fallout pushed many into poverty, widening the already existing gap. The pandemic underscored the urgent need for robust social safety nets and healthcare infrastructure to protect the most vulnerable during crises. It revealed the interconnectedness of global health and economic stability. Section 4. A changing climate, a widening gap, climate change and inequality in Africa. Climate change, a defining challenge of our time, poses a significant threat to Africa's development and exacerbates existing inequalities. Droughts, floods and unpredictable weather patterns disproportionately impact vulnerable communities reliant on agriculture for their livelihoods. These communities, often lacking the resources to adapt to a changing climate, face increased poverty, food insecurity and displacement. Climate change acts as a threat multiplier, intensifying existing inequalities and hindering progress towards sustainable development. Addressing climate change requires a global effort, with developed nations taking responsibility for their historical emissions. Investing in climate-resilient infrastructure and supporting sustainable agricultural practices are crucial for mitigating the disproportionate impact of climate change on the poor. Section 5. Bridging the chasm towards a more equitable Africa. Addressing the widening rich-poor gap in Africa demands a multifaceted approach. It requires a commitment to inclusive economic growth that benefits all members of society, not just a select few. This involves creating opportunities for decent work, investing in education and skills development, and promoting entrepreneurship. Strengthening governance, tackling corruption, and ensuring equitable access to resources are vital for creating a level playing field. Empowering marginalized communities, including women and youth, is essential for unlocking their potential and fostering inclusive growth. Investing in social safety nets such as cash transfers and healthcare subsidies can provide a safety net for the most vulnerable and mitigate the impact of economic shocks. By prioritizing social equity alongside economic growth, Africa can move towards a future where prosperity is shared by all.